what is up? In today's video, I'm going to be showing you all how you can build Ungoogled Chromium for Windows. So, there was one point where I was actually trying to do this, and I was struggling very bad at doing it because I did not follow the instructions correctly. But, in today's video, I'm actually going to go more visually in depth so that you can see how to actually build it, because I personally struggled with doing this, and they're not very direct about this. And in today's video, I'm going to change that so that it makes it easier. Without further ado, let's get straight into it.
In the club, the rhythm moves our feet. With every bass drop, we feel the heat. Strobe lights flicker, bodies in a trance. We're lost in the music, caught in the dance. Feel the vibe, let it take control.
So, the first thing you're going to need is to install 7-zip. You can do this in any order. You don't have to do it in the order that I'm specifically saying, but you can just install 7-zip by going to your browser and searching up 7-zip download. Just searched it right there, and it should be the first link that pops up. You click it, and you click on the Windows download up there. Now, I personally already have 7-zip downloaded, so I don't need to do this. But you want to install that because you're going to need it. You can't use WinRAR. You have to use 7-zip for how Ungoogled Chromium builds. And if you're a contributor to Chromium at all, you want to make sure that you go into your environment variables and remove depot tools. I already have, but you go into your variables, and however you got it set up, whether if it's the top or Chromium recommends that it is the top, but in my case, it's not in here because I already removed it. So I'm not a contributor to Chromium, but I have built the Chromium source code, and I have looked in it and to an extent worked in it. So yeah, you're gonna take that, and I'm gonna keep the environment variable depot underscore tools underscore win toolchain, and I'm going to keep that in here because that doesn't matter. It won't harm anything. But now let's move on to the important part. So if you don't have Visual Studio installed, you want to make sure that you have Visual Studio 2022. And I know in this guide it says Visual Studio 2019, but just to keep everything more consistent, modern, and to have less issues, I would use Visual Studio 2022. You can use something else if you prefer. You could even use preview versions of Visual Studio, but I don't recommend that because we want to make sure that we're doing everything as stable as possible in this video. So, first, after you have 7-zip, you want to make sure that you have the latest version of Python. So you can have Python 3.8, which is not the latest version, but it is the minimum version that you can use. So Python 3.8 or above. So in my case, I'm running Python 3.13 in this video. So before we run any type of commands, I want you to consider this script right here. So in Windows, by default, for some odd reason, you cannot use Python 3 when it comes to using terms and commands. So let's say you want to check your Python version. Usually you just type py and then -- version. But now with this script that I've made, you can just type in Python 3 version, and it will just show your version right here. Now, my version, I'm on 3.13.5, which is currently the latest version of Python that you can have. So, at least as I'm making this video anyways. There's definitely going to be more versions that are going to release in newer categories or whatever, but for now, we're just going to go with what I have in the video. So, now that you have that established, so let me actually show you that script. So, how it works is you take the script and you put it in your path or whatever, and you actually go into your C drive, your local drive. So when you're in your C drive, you make a folder called python3 to py command. So this is just a little script I made. So it is a batch file. You want to copy the script, which I will leave in the description. It's a very, very simple script. Honestly, I'll leave it open for a second here so that you can actually write this. It doesn't take much effort, and it really does make the building process of Ungoogled Chromium easier, because if you don't do this, you will have errors in your build. I find this method a lot easier than just managing it manually through just clicking through a bunch of stuff. This automatically sets up the Python 3 word for you, so you don't have to. And it makes it a lot easier. It makes life 10,000 times easier when it comes to using that kind of command, because some of the build scripts that Ungoogled Chromium uses requires this command, and if you don't use this and you try to build it later on, it will have complications, because it will say Python 3 doesn't exist, even though it does, but it's just weird. I don't know. Now that we have that out of the way, you want to make sure that you have Python 3 installed, and you will get a pop-up after you've got done installing Python, and it will say that, would you like to disable max path? You want to click on that, and you want to disable it, and it will pop up a UAC prompt, and you want to click yes on that, and that will disable the max path length. That is very, very, very important, because if you try to run all these scripts and you try to build it, it's just not going to work. So, next up, you want to make sure that you set up your Python correctly with app execution alias. You want to go into your start menu and type app execution alias right there, and you want to go into it. And you want to look for any references to Python, and you want to turn them off, because that usually causes conflicts if you keep them turned on, and you'll try to run commands for building the Ungoogled Chromium source code, and also Chromium itself, if you ever considered building the fully fledged version of Chromium with Google services. But if you consider building it and you don't have this set up properly, it will error out during the build. So you want to make sure that that is all set up for that. So next up, we want to take a look at the you want to make sure that it has a copy of Python named python3.exe or sylink. That is for the Python 3 command. Well, you could do this method instead of using my script, but my script is much simpler. You just take it and you just copy it and you put it in that folder, and it just works like that. You don't need to set up everything else, but ensure your Python directory either has a copy of Python named Python 3, which is what we just had there, and we need this package here. You want to copy that and go into your command prompt. So you want to run your command prompt just like this, and you want to make sure that you do pip install and then enter that command just like so. Now for me, I already have this installed, so I don't need to install it. It will go through in the install process whenever you actually enter this command. So you can pretty much do that. And it will install the needed dependency for you. And let's look through the instructions here, make sure not missing anything. Okay. Now as for Visual Studio, let's actually take a look at what the Visual Studio installer will look like. So here is the Visual Studio installer. I'm actually going to give you instructions on what you need to do in here, because there is a specific thing that you need to do in here, and I'm going to do that in this video, so that way that you don't have to look at the Chromium documentation to actually do that. So once you have Visual Studio, so how you even get Visual Studio is you go to your browser of choice and you just type Visual Studio download, and once you do that and you go right here, there will be the Visual Studio 2022 download link. So you can get the community version, which is free. You can get the professional, which comes with a free trial, and you can get the enterprise, which also has a free trial. But for this video, we're gonna just use community now. So you want to make sure that you have the installer for that open, and let it pop up there. And when it does, it'll give you a list of options that will look like this. It'll look identical to this right here. So you won't have the same things selected, but you will be able to select those things. So you want to go over to the individual components tab, and you want to search ATL, and you want to look for C++ ATL for latest version 143 build tools, x86 and x64. You want to make sure that that is checked, because you're going to need that if you're wanting to have full compilation of the browser there. So you want to make sure that you have MFC. So there will be one right here called C++ MFC for latest version 143 build tools, x86, x64. It'll have the same kind of name as ATL did. You want to make sure that these are checked, because those are going to be very important for what we're going to be doing, and to prevent less errors in the scripts, you want to keep those. So, and you want to go back to the workloads tab, and you want to check the desktop development with C++. You want to check that, and you want to check Python development right there. And if you ever want to use Node.js, you can also check that as well. But for the video, we're not gonna need that. So just keep the desktop development with C++ checked, because that's the only one we're gonna need for this video. So you check that, and then you go in the individual components, and you search up ATL and MFC, and you make sure those are checked, like we just did just a second ago. And once you have that and your Visual Studio is installed, we can move on to the next step. So what is the next step exactly? So now that we have Python, and now that we have 7-zip, and now that we have the command right there ran to install that needed dependency, we can make sure that we have Git installed. So how you install Git is you just go to your browser and you search up Git download, and it will be the first link right here. You click that. I will provide all of these links that you see in this video in the description down below, so that you guys have access to this, and you don't have a situation where you're like, wait, why is what he's saying in this video, why can I not find it? So now I'm going to actually provide that. You want to download this, and once you do that, you just open it. And also in the, hold on, let me actually. So, in the Building Chromium for Windows documentation, so this is a very important step. So when setting up Git, you want to go down here and you want to type in these commands right here. I've already did this, but you want to actually go into your Git bash, and this is what that will look like. Right there. You want to go into your Git bash, and you want to type in these commands, and you want to actually put in your name, the email address, and then you type in the rest of these here. And after you do that, your Git will be set up, and you'll be ready to go with Git. So that is a very important step that needs to be done. I'll even provide this documentation in the description, so that way that you have access to this and you can see those Git commands that you will need to use. So next up, now we have 7-zip, we have Python, we have Git set up, and we have that dependency installed. That is the only couple of things you will need for now. Unless you get errors during the build process and you figure out what's going on, because there will possibly be errors depending on how your environment is, how they're set up, and whatnot. But so far, this is correct, and this should 100% work. I can't guarantee it, because it depends on how you have your environment set up, whether it's set up correctly or not. But now, let's move on. So, now we can actually get to building Ungoogled Chromium. So, you can clone the repository like so, using this command. You just copy it. Now, a lot of this is going to be done in the Visual Studio developer command prompt. So how you access that is you go into your start. If you have Visual Studio already installed, you can just type in develop. So right there, developer command prompt for VS 2019. We don't want that one. We want the one below that that says developer command prompt for VS 2022. That is the one we're going to need. So you want to open that one. And when you open that one, you want to cd into the directory where you have the Ungoogled Chromium source code. I have it on my data drive, so I'm going to actually copy the path right here, and we're going to copy it just like that. And we go back into this, and we just do cd, and there we go. And to actually get the command prompt to move to that drive, we just do d:, and press enter, and it will move just like that. and now you've done it. You're in the Ungoogled Chromium source code just from using the developer command prompt. So yay! That's a thing you can do there to make development a lot more easier. And it also recommends you using the VS command prompt in the actual documentation here. So developer command prompt for VS is what it recommends you to use for all this anyways. So when you clone that, and so you should be able to CD into it just like I just did. Now that we have all the other instructions complete, and I want you to really look over everything we just did in this video, because you're going to need it to do the rest of this build. So now we got all that. We've cloned it. We've CD'd into it using the developer command prompt. Now we're going to do get checkout and then the command right there. So we're going to do the get checkout command. We're going to copy that, and we are going to go into the developer command prompt, and we're going to paste that in here. So we want to remove this placeholder tag text. All right, there we go. We want to remove that. And you want to go to the release of Ungoogled Chromium that you want to check out. You can use whatever release you want, whatever that one that you've cloned from their repository. You want to take that and you want to click on it. So as you can see here, it has the release, and there is also going to be a tag attached to it. You can click that tag right there, and it will bring you and show you the repository that you have there. So we're going to use this tag, for example. So let's copy the name. So we're going to copy it, and we're going to paste that in here. So it will be the checkout command, and it will have the version that we have, and we're going to press enter. All right, head is now there. So you will have a different pop-up. It will be a lot more text that will pop up, but I've already checked this out already, so it will have a different pop-up for me. But now that you actually have that, you can actually get to actually building. So this is where that custom script that I made comes in handy. So now you can type Python 3 build.py, and boom, it's building just like that. But anyway, so without further ado, let's just wait, and we're going to see what happens during this part. So it's receiving the objects. So yeah, the build looks to be successful, and I hope this video was helpful to you all. And if it was, consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss another video. And leave some suggestions in the comment section down below. And if you want any other help with Ungoogled Chromium, you can also comment that below as well, and I will do my best to comment back and hopefully solve your problem. And I'll see you all in another video. Bye-bye.